Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus versus OnePlus 6. It's finally here, guys. Just before we get into the comparison, let's unbox the phone. I'll also be launching a brand new giveaway tomorrow on my Instagram page, so be sure to follow me down below. I'll leave links in the description. Okay, to say one thing, the OnePlus 6 is a slicker phone than the S9 Plus. It is much slimmer and noticeably lighter, with not to mention a brand new finish on the rear, and whilst it doesn't look like it on this midnight black version I have, this is glass, but its coating gives it a softer, less sticky feeling than the Samsung. Both phones are really comfortable to hold, but the curve on the back of the OnePlus is a little more organic, which makes it not just comfortable, but like it was made for your hand. This curvature does come at the cost of a bit of wobble when it's on a flat surface though. We also see a return of the dedicated alert slider on the OnePlus, and the positioning has been improved, with it now on the right hand side of the phone. It's not really something I use much, but a general rule is more buttons equals more flexibility. And with third-party workarounds, you'll be able to repurpose this if you really wanted to. Thankfully, both devices have headphone jacks and wireless charging, but unfortunately, OnePlus still doesn't have that IP certification for water and dust resistance. But certification isn't everything, and the company has taken measures this time to protect the internals from damage, so it'll almost definitely hold up from a splash or a drop in water. Having said that, the official IP68 certification on the S9 Plus just gives you a little bit of peace of mind. They also both have fast face unlocking options and a curiously similar approach to fingerprint scanners, with basically identical position and shape. All in all, I'd say OnePlus takes it in terms of the external build. Throughout this comparison, you've also got to bear in mind the prices. Samsung's S9 Plus can be had for £869 here in the UK, and whilst OnePlus hasn't announced pricing at the time of filming, I would estimate it to start at £549, but I'll leave the final price in a comment below. The display of the OnePlus phone is now larger than Samsung's offering. You've got 6.28 inches, and yes, it has a notch, as well as that little chin at the bottom, which did spark a little controversy with the leaks, but in the end, it means your screen can extend right to the top of the phone. And you do notice this immediately when you turn the phone on. The screen to body ratio is as high as it's ever been from the company, and it beats out the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus, which is to say the body of this phone is a fraction smaller than the Samsung, whilst having a display that is a fraction larger. Having said that, some people won't like the asymmetrical nature of this design, in which case Samsung takes the win, but personally I'm totally happy with it. Now this is interesting. In terms of display quality, it is close, and with AMOLED tech, both offer crisp contrast and colours. You know the deal here. To the undiscerning eye, you may say that the slightly larger OnePlus screen takes the win, and side by side you'll notice the slightly purer whites it produces, where the S9 almost has a green tinge in comparison. You need to bear in mind though, whilst by default both phones have a very similar Full HD Plus resolution, the S9 Plus has the option to move up to Quad HD Plus. This is a huge bump in resolution, but with it, you'll also get a chunk out of your battery life. But if you would find yourself making that sacrifice for the resolution, then the S9 Plus is the better display, else the OnePlus 6 takes it. The motto of the OnePlus 6, the way it's being sold, is the speed you need. And whilst they're not wrong, it may lead you to believe that they're using a more powerful chip than its competitors, or maybe an overclocked version. That's not the case, and the base models of both of these phones are identical in terms of system on a chip and RAM. The speed of the OnePlus really comes from its software though, and from the time I have spent with it, Oxygen OS elevates it above Samsung Experience, which is the UI you get with the S9. I really just could not get the phone to lag or slow down, but we do need a little longer to say if this will hold up over time. Both phones will tear through games, apps, internet browsing, or whatever Android has to offer right now. These are the pinnacle of mobile performance. On top of this though, OnePlus has the option for an 8GB RAM model, but at this point it's probably less about the speed you need and more about the speed you feel like having because it sounds kind of cool. But if you are planning on keeping the phone for 2 years plus, I'm sure more games and apps will arrive to take advantage of it. But overall, in terms of the responsiveness, OnePlus wins the speed race. Speaking of Oxygen OS, you'll get Android 8.1 on the OnePlus 6. Compared to the S9 Plus that is still with Android 8.0. And you've also now, with OnePlus, got the option to control by gestures and hide the navigation bar entirely. It's something you can get used to, and it makes the screen very immersive indeed. Gestures actually play a wider role here. You can swipe with 3 fingers to take a screenshot, and you can double tap the display to wake it. There are lots of subtle and clever uses of gestures. Worth noting is that the S9 is a more storage-friendly phone, offering 128GB by default in most regions, and also with room for 400GB of microSD storage. OnePlus starts with 64GB and has no SD cards, but you have to evaluate, in an age where music, TV and photos are all moving to the cloud, is this so much of an issue? Even so, it's a win for Samsung. Dash charging is back with the OnePlus 6, which brings with it 20 watts of output compared to 15 on the Samsung, which indicates faster charging. OnePlus also has famously great battery life, so I do expect no less from the 6, but it remains to be seen if it'll beat the S9 Plus, which on paper does have a larger capacity. Let me know if you want to see a dedicated battery drain test on the channel. Okay, the area where things get very complicated is camera. Both phones have a dual camera setup, both have optical image stabilization to make photos and videos less shaky, and both can shoot 4K video at 60 frames per second. This is all great news. OnePlus has a higher resolution setup, but this isn't necessarily indicative of better image quality. The S9 has an edge in flexibility. Its variable aperture allows it to flick between a very wide f1.5 and a much narrower f2.4. f1.5 should allow for cleaner looking low light shots than the OnePlus 6 with its f1.7 cameras, and the S9's super slow motion captures 720p footage at 960 frames per second, versus the same resolution but 480 on OnePlus. This means that when you slow it down, because the S9 has captured twice as many frames as the OnePlus, it can be slowed twice as much. Since the OnePlus 5T, the main image sensor on the 6 has been improved, so even though the S9 Plus on paper seems to be winning, if you do want to see a full camera test, then let me know. The front cameras are both very serviceable, and soon after launch the OnePlus 6 will have a selfie focus mode just like the S9 does, but I wouldn't expect either of these phones to be as capable as the Google Pixel 2 in this area. This 2018 trend of pseudo dual speaker setups using the downwards firing speaker and the earpiece is making a return with the OnePlus 6. My first impression is that the earpiece on the S9 is a little louder, and also the overall sound is fuller, but it's not a huge deal and the OnePlus 6 is not bad sounding. So far then, the OnePlus 6 looks like strides in the right direction. The fact that it is so much cheaper than Samsung's offering, but still trading blows in a lot of areas, is good news for OnePlus. Anyway guys, don't forget to follow me on Instagram, link is in the description below, and I will be announcing a giveaway tomorrow. With that being said, my name is Aaron, this is Mr. Who's the Boss, and I'll catch you guys next time.